Time now for our international press review in the papers today with Gulliver Cragg. Gulliver, take it away.
Well, the US elections is a story that interests the whole world, if ever there was one. So most of the headlines around the world have still got lots of stuff about Barack Obama definitely becoming the Democratic nominee if Hillary Clinton pulls out, as her aides say she's going to do. Mostly around the world, you've got to say that the reaction is pretty much hooray for Obama, especially in Indonesia. The Jakarta Post has visited the school where Barack Obama attended for 4 years during his childhood and interviewed a few people who said that they never thought he'd grow up to be such a great man, but they're very happy about it. They see him as a hometown hero.
I like the fact that he was known as Barry when he was younger. It's quite funny. Yeah. Barack, Barry. It's quite a strange one. What's next?
The Washington Post is actually informing Americans just how popular Barack Obama is abroad. There's the headline, "Overseas Excitement Over Obama." So it goes a bit around the world and says how this race has really interested people to an unprecedented level around the world, and people are very excited that a black man could be in position, such a credible candidate to be US president.
His kind of universal appeal in many ways, of course.
Yeah.
There's this issue about race and possible racism in the election runoff as well, which might raise its ugly head, which is terrible. But what else have you got?
Well, the New York Times, more focusing on the reaction in America to Mrs. Clinton's apparently giving in. The New York Times had endorsed Hillary Clinton all the way, but it now endorses her decision to give up and says that she mustn't set Barack Obama any preconditions on her pulling out of the race. She mustn't force herself onto the ticket as vice presidential candidate. But it does go on to say that the things that Hillary Clinton wants are what America most needs. So Barack Obama would be well advised to listen to her and perhaps even get some of her people on board for his campaign.
And of course, we mustn't forget 18 million votes she got, didn't she?
Yes, she's got a lot of influence, but
popular.
that's what the Irish Times is discussing as Obama weighs whether or not to accept Hillary Clinton as vice presidential candidate. On the one hand, she's got 18 million voters who she can influence. On the other hand, it could be a poisoned chalice. She could be a bit of a liability as running mate if Obama wants to present himself as a candidate of renewal, Hillary with Bill in tow, and that's what the Irish Times' cartoon is talking about.
Cartoon, isn't it?
Might undermine that, rather.
OK, what's the next subject?
The World Food Organization summit in Rome.
This is the conference that's going on in Rome, isn't it? 50 world leaders, Ban Ki-moon warnings, the productivity needs to go up 50% by 2030, something like that.
Yeah, but the focus with a lot of the news coverage is on Robert Mugabe and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad being there. Al Hayat, the Pan-Arab paper, is instead of just crying about the controversy about them being there, it's homing in on what they've said at the summit, saying the Zimbabwean and Iranian leaders are particularly bad examples of sort of conspiracy theory populism, blaming foreign powers for their country's woes when really they have to take responsibility for the parlous state of their farming sectors. The Australian also looks at Robert Mugabe's speech. He accused NGOs of NGOs who are working to feed the poor in Zimbabwe of actually interfering in politics, and apparently CARE and other aid groups have been stopped from working in Zimbabwe, which backs up what Mugabe himself was saying. The Australians complaining about that.
Yeah.
A lighter note to end on quickly.
Prince
Charles, the heir to the British throne, has turned his attention to architecture in China, in Beijing, to make way for high-rise modern housing. They're knocking down a lot of these historic hutong houses, that some of which date back to the Ming Dynasty.
Absolutely wonderful, typical sort of old Chinese places,
and that's the
courtyards.
Thing, Mark, you've been there, you've seen them.
Amazing
Prince
places.
Charles wants to save them, but he's never seen them. He's never been there. So he's campaigning to save these houses he's never seen, and the Chinese aren't very sure about this kind of interference.
Bless him. Gulliver, thank you for that. That was our international press review. You're watching France 24. Stay with us.